Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm taking you deep into the heart of Dr. Elise, the royal lady with the lamp. The Elise of her first life wasn't the warm, selfless person we meet later. No, she was cold, arrogant, and entitled. The daughter of a duke, spoiled and proud, engaged to the emperor but hated by the people. She misused her power. She was cruel to the palace maids. She burned with jealousy. And that jealousy, it blinded her. Especially toward Lyndon, the man she thought loved her, but that love wasn't real. Lyndon grew cold, even disgusted by her actions. And eventually, she was executed for her crimes. Betrayed, abandoned, and alone. She earned her rebirth. And that guilt from her past follows her even when she gets a second chance. After death, Elise is reborn. Not in her old world, but in our world. Modern times. She becomes a skilled, world-class surgeon, driven, humble, and deeply haunted by her past. But here's something important, Elise had a traumatic childhood even in this life. She was abandoned by her parents, left in an orphanage, and grew up without love or protection. That shaped her cold outer shell, but deep inside, she longed to be loved and needed. That's why medicine became everything to her. She wanted to help people, to be useful, to never feel abandoned again. But no matter how much good she does, she can never forget the Elise she used to be. And then, the tragic twist. Elise boards a flight to attend a medical conference overseas. That plane never makes it. Just like that, she's gone again. But this time, she wakes up in her first world again, but years earlier, as a young noble lady. The Elise before everything fell apart. Elise wakes up in her younger body, in her noble mansion, in her bed, alive. It's not a dream, she's been sent back before all the destruction. As she takes in her surroundings, maids rush in to check on her. Elise does something she never did in her past life, she thanks them warmly. They're shocked, confused, but she means it. She remembers every insult, every cruel word she threw at them before. At the breakfast table, her family gathers, her father, the duke, and her older brothers. As soon as she saw them, she cried on the spot. Her brother came running to her and hugged her affectionately. With tears flowing, she thanked them for everything. At the same time, she bowed and asked forgiveness. Of course, everyone is stunned to speak. To not repeat the same thing, she decided to become a doctor on this life too. The next day, she was summoned to the royal palace. This is a place she once become the empress for 6 years. As she meets the emperor, she talks about the coming disaster without being suspicious. Everyone along with the emperor is surprised to hear that. He was very delighted and praised her. She also suggests about the politic that will be useful in the near future. At last, she make a bold request of cancelling the engagement with the crown prince. Her father shouted angrily. She suddenly kneeled down in front of the emperor. She bowed down on the ground and asked forgiveness punishment and once again apologized for reigning the image of the royal family. To her surprise, the emperor does not shrug but rather smiling happily. She was confused but stated that she wants to become a doctor. Once again, she wants to help people and live as a doctor. After debating, the emperor offers a bet. She is to pass the medical council exam at next month admission. She happily accepts the offer and thanks the emperor for understanding. At a time, the emperor asked Prince Lyndon to take her for a walk. On the way, she once again apologized to the crown prince for everything she had done wrong. Also, for putting into the engagement which he never wanted. He replied, "Who said I was forced into the marriage?" Just like that she went back home and all family members think she is joking. She went to the library and studied day and night. She decided to go to the hospital and work there hiding her identity. At the hospital, the professor is very upset that the noble lady is coming here to play doctor. He asked difficult questions but answered very fluently. This surprised the professor but he wanted to test more. He asked Elise to follow him. The professor assigned her to a very basic place full of beggars and dirt. She doesn't complain and said, "I'll do my best." She cleaned the mold and managed the hospital room to become clean. What surprised everyone the most is she performed a surgery skillfully. The professor came to the hospital room to scold her. But what he found was a very well-performed operation and the wound is healing. All the patient praise her for not sleeping and looking after them at night. But the professor, not believing her, accused her for lying. The next day, the professor stayed together with her and checked the patients. It was then he apologized to her for being prejudices and judged based on the status. Elise forgave and promised to do her best. There comes another patient with critical condition. She performed in front of all the doctors with modern technique. Doctors are shocked and do not believe eyes. After performing, she apologized to the in-charge doctor. To all surprised, she was praised by the professor in front of everyone. He is also amazed to see it for the first time ever to solve like this. He was also recognized as a genius, but she is far more knowledgeable than him. After that, she became the talk of the town. The Crown Prince Lyndon is on the patrol discussing his hair and eye color. In remote alley, he and his assistant encounter a man with a knife. His assistant easily caught and knocked down the man. But unfortunately, the man had a gun. He shot right through the assistant body. He is sent to the hospital immediately. In the hospital, Prince Lyndon met with Elise. Elise, though he looked familiar but doesn't recognize the highness. The prince show them the royal crest and tell them to save the person. But for the professor, there is not a single doctor who can operate the bullet-penetrate patient. That is where Elise stepped up and said, "All right, we will do our best." She operate the patient with all the tools present at the time. The operation was a success and deliver the news to the prince. Without knowing he is the prince, Elise said the bill is going to be a little bit high, which make the prince confused. When the prince was about to leave, he got dizzy from the exhaustion and fall. He was grabbed by hand from the Elise, which make him blush. He just thanked Elise and awkwardly leave from the hospital. The operation caught the attention of the higher-up. Later, they found out that it was performed by Elise, not the professor. Elise was offered to work at Royal Cross Hospital, the best medical center in the empire. But she is to take the exam first. She thanked them and said, "Thank you, and I will do my best if you grant me the opportunity." When she returned back from the office, she met with the prince, who is disguised as Ron. She grabbed his hand and offered to treat him. They go to the hospital and I start asking questions and check the vital in his neck. That make the prince very blush again. She found out the diagnosis, prescribed the medicine and asked to come again. The prince said, "I will see you again in 3 days." That's how the medical examination with Sir Ron, the prince, began. The Duke invite the head of the doctor professor to ask about Rose, real name Elise. The professor very much complimented the Elise that the Duke even cannot believe his own ear. The professor wonder why is the Duke curious about Rose. Because no one know that Rose is the daughter of the Duke. On the same day, the professor is summoned to the royal palace and asked about Rose again. He said the truth by saying she is the genius of the century. Of course, the emperor was not very satisfied since he wants Elise to become the empress, not the doctor. But the emperor decided to see the result of the exam as he promised.